Well, the core of our scientific studies are languages and their structures. And language is, of course, also central in our lives. Through language, we communicate with society and the world. We express our feelings, our thoughts, our attitudes through language. Language defines who we are, basically our identities. And it is through language that we express our cultures, our traditions, and our histories. Language also allows us to participate in all aspects of society. And it's very important for place building and for reconciliation. In line with that, also, language is important for good governance. So I should also point out, we defend our human rights through language. For instance, the freedom of thought or expression or opinion. And language gives us access to information, it gives us access to education, and it gives us access to employment. As linguists, we investigate the intricacies of the world's language and how languages are being used by individuals in different social settings. So it's therefore important that we share this knowledge with society at large and to make people aware of this really important role that language plays in our lives. Because apart from help improve communication related to individual users, for instance, if somebody has got speech disorders that can be treated, or in society, but also across cultures, language plays a very important role. And it's also related to our well-being. In fact, not being able to communicate our needs puts us into a very vulnerable position. So I just think that there are lots of aspects in linguistics, in the different fields of linguistics, that can help society at large because communication and language is so central. A theme that comes back in all of my research projects is the very broad field of language and migration, both in the past and in the present. And if I want to reconstruct language use in the past, and if I want to better understand how language was used in society and what effect language contact has had between people on language use, I have to rely on written sources. So I need old manuscripts, I need civic records, I need private letters that are in archives. So historical documents, I think I would say, are my tool number one. So that's the first one I need. For the present, I have to rely on data that's shared by people today. For instance, for a study of Swiss language islands in North America, we talked to Swiss migrants in North America and their descendants about their and their families' migration histories, their language vitality, and we also recorded their language use, something that we call heritage dialect or heritage language. And then we put all of this information together. So the context information, as well as the heritage language recordings that we have, and then the recordings from Switzerland today, so that we can compare in what way the dialects and the languages have changed over time. So I would say then, taking all of this together, people are my tool number two. So I would really need access to people in order to record and to analyze their language. And the third tool, in order to carry out all of my research, I need a computer, I need an internet connection, I need a recording device, I need access to previous literature, and I need access to my colleagues. So in a way, if I'm allowed to bundle all of this together into one item, I'd say a computer with everything that goes with it. The one citation that would definitely stay with me is a citation by Ludwig Wittgenstein that's called "The limits of my language are the limits of my world." And that statement refers to the belief that if one cannot describe something in words, then it does not exist. It's not part of one's world. So if you learn or if you know other languages, and you know how they create words, which is very often in different ways from your mother tongue, you may learn more ways to describe something in your own language that could not be described before. So generally then, learning new languages allows you to broaden your horizon and it opens up your world because you get to know different perspectives and you learn to understand different cultures. And more broadly, I think, linked to this citation, because communication plays such a key role in our lives that if you're being restricted in your language use, which is if you're, for instance, a migrant and you don't speak the language properly, or your language faculty was affected in different ways, maybe somebody had a stroke and got aphasia, or somebody has got Parkinson, that can have a great impact on the people that are trying to use the language. Because when you have difficulties communicating, it makes you very vulnerable and it affects you and your role in society as a human being. I really like that question. Now, apart from help capture all of the languages, all of the varieties, and all of the dialects that are spoken in the entire world, I would want to investigate on a large scale and for a long period of time the topic of language and migration. We would then, on the one hand, obviously try to make all of the historical documents available that are there to investigate. And for the present day, I think I would be particularly interested in looking at language, at people and their language use, and particularly people who've left their homeland to work in other countries or people who were forced to leave their homeland. So what I and colleagues, I think, would try to do is we would try to investigate how the language use of bi- or multilingual migrants changes across their lifespan throughout their period of migration, and particularly what happens when they get older, when they start aging. So what effects would cognitive aging, for instance, have on their multilingualism? And then it would be really interesting to compare the migrants to the people who are monolingual or bi- or multilingual speakers who've never left their homeland and see in what way does the development differ. And because I think that if we were to investigate something like this, we get a better understanding of aging as well as the language-related dynamics. And that would allow us, again, to contribute to people's well-being, at least with respect to communication.